Welcome back, everybody, to the League of Inches podcast live show coming live to you on Facebook and YouTube once again. Didn't even get a chance to post this out, so let's hope there's a few people that show up and give us a watch, give us a listen. As always, get involved. Coming off a Monday game, which I tell you what, not having Monday regular football, it is as bad as it is for a Parra fan watching that one. It was nice to have come home after work and sit down and watch some footy. I know a lot of the New South Wales fans watching had the public holiday today, but we'll get to enjoy some footy, which was great. So loved every second of it. I'll say it now, bring back Monday night footy. Why not? Let's just have like 6 days a week of football and have one day to catch up on a bit of content, etc. And then just go again. That's what I would like. Anyway, yeah, look, straight off the bat, guys, personal note, I just want to get it out of the way because you probably know it's a little bit flat. Been a bit of a big 24, 48 hours for myself personally. But yeah, I won't go into it too much. Just a bit flat today, been a bit going on, but I'll push through for everyone. So please get involved in the comments, help us get through. And I appreciate Tyler and Jace jumping on and help me lift for this show. But straight into it, boys. The intro side of it, I just want to quickly say as well, advisory, massive shout out to Jace and the advisory group for the prize at the moment. So that field club tickets to the Eels versus Storm game. You don't want to miss out. It's the top post on both Facebook and Instagram at the moment. Just go through, follow. It's 3 simple steps, guys. And the prize, I think it's worth upwards of $800 for these 2 tickets. So it's a great prize. You simply have to win it. It's an experience you must experience, even just as a rugby league fan. You don't have to be a Parramatta or a Storm fan. Just go down and experience it. You're right there at the ground. You see all the commentators. You see everyone. It is a fantastic experience. So, and as always, just hit that like, subscribe button on Facebook, YouTube, and the like for the page and for advisory.com as well. But I've got a couple of very frustrated Parramatta fans, so I'm sure that they will be ready to rip and tear. Yes, Damien, thanks for letting me know that. I'm trying to forget about that. I'll touch on that in a second, actually. Before we get into the Parra side of things, that's going to open the show. So Parra fans, get your thoughts in. I'll quickly go and share these to some of the groups as I get these boys to talk. But Tyler, I throw to you. I want to know your player of the round for round 14. Obviously, a big round. We had a lot of the Origin players back up who I thought really put their best foot forward and showed why they were that sort of quality players. So who stood out for you the most?
Look, I'm going to go with someone who didn't actually play Origin this week. I'm going to go with Nickel Cookstar from the Warriors. The game that he had and the game he runs every week is unreal for me. He is one of the best fullbacks going at the moment. He puts in 120%. People always underrate his attacking prowess for whatever reason. I don't understand it, but he runs 250 metres plus near enough every game when he's at that fullback role. And also at the 6 role when he had to fill in there, he was awesome. So that's going to be my player of the round.
Great shout. Jace, who have you got for us for your player of the round?
Zach Lomax. Looks like we got him on absolute cheapies. What a game against the Tigers. He got 32 points. What was it, three or 4 tries and kicked every single goal from everywhere. Looking great and backed up after Origin, a decent game of Origin as well. So, yeah, Zach Lomax for me, definitely. And when you see the boys back up after Origin as well, it gives you some hope for game 2. I mean, they play hard. So, yeah, it's good to see that.
Yeah, I will double down on that and just say Zach Lomax as well. And I just wanted to quickly shout out to him because I think even 2-3 months ago when all this was happening, there was a lot of people out there who just flat out didn't rate him at all and just said he's not a regular first grade player of that standard. He was never consistently doing it week in, week out, and there was always question marks around him. What I think it's fair to say now is Zach Lomax is he's not just a rep player. He's a star. He's an out-and-out star, in my opinion. And to have the game he had on Wednesday night, I reckon if the Blues win that, find a way to win it, for mine, he goes close to being man of the match. I thought he was sensational. What a debut. And to back up 48 hours, where I actually said I said it on one of the shows we recorded last week. I think it was with Jesse with Supercoach. I had him 0 chance to back up. I thought they'd rest all 3 Dragons players, but all 3 backed up. I think all 3 were very good. I think Zach Lomax was just phenomenal. That was a phenomenal effort. He did. I thought didn't even go off once. Didn't get an early break, early rest. He stayed out the whole time. And shout out to you, Zach. Damien, I know you're watching. Just quickly touch on this. So FKA plate cup. So Finders Keepers Cup. I'm in it on all my octopuses. Supercoach, this is draft, and I think I was equal first or something coming into the weekend, and got absolutely smashed by the Orcas, who just had every one of their players, I feel like, just kept getting 100 and 100, 100, 100. I just got absolutely resold, but hey, it is what it is. Let's start talking about what we're here for, boys. I know a lot of you, both of you, sorry, are very keen to get your views across. Very fired up. Let's just say that now. So this always goes off when things are fired up. Get your thoughts in, Parra fans. We're going to Parramatta first. So what are your thoughts on Parramatta today, boys? They should have won it. Found a way to lose it. Jace, I'll throw to you first because I know you're very, very annoyed, to say it nicely. Tell us your thoughts.
I'm gonna go back to the loss against Penrith, and I'm gonna say that's where it started, because this year has been stupid coaching decisions, playing players out of position, and the team just not knowing what to do in any sort of adversity whatsoever. And people were having a go at me, and I've mentioned this a few times after the Penrith game when I said, look, if that's the way we're going to play for the rest of the year, season over. And it's happened every single time. You know, there was the Penrith game was Simo getting smacked in the head, puts Talagi into the centres, and they score 3 tries down that side. Now, look, I know there's not many options at the moment, but RZ in the centres was always going to be an issue, especially up against Crichton. They caught us out 3 times or 4 times on that side. I think all the tries were on that side. Much better options. Russell stays at centre. He's a better defensive centre. Put anyone into the wing. I don't care. It was just one of those games again where unfortunately we've just put players out of position. It was I think a very, very bad coaching decision from the beginning. Lussick on the bench. If you're going to put him on the bench, just kick him out altogether. Like, just please leave. Just leave. Just play Reggie's or wherever else that's lower than Reggie's that you can play. Just get away from the club, please. Yeah. And as much as everyone's been saying, oh, Lane had a good game, he always does something crucial that costs us momentum or costs us a great opportunity. And that was the drop ball. He was pretty much through the line, and all he had to do was catch the bloody ball and fall over the line, and he doesn't do that. And that was 13 on 12. If he does that, that's a completely different game from there. I know Brownie dropped a ball, but I still think Wilson hacked at that. So once we lost our challenge, a few of the Dogs players started just going for the ball rather than going for tackles. That's where a lot of the things drop balls were. Cardi got smacked in the head. He didn't have a good game anyway, but he got smacked in the head when he dropped the ball. It's just one of those things again. Like, Lane was on there for way too long. I kept looking at him and the way that he was running back. You just see that he's either defeated or deflated. The way when he tries to run back on side, and it doesn't get put into his missed tackles, his air swings, because he just doesn't get there and he leaves gaps. So, and Lussick had his hand on his hips after about 1 tackle, and he was just absolutely useless when he came on. And you could see the way we dipped when hands came off. We had a good first half, and it was looking good. But our second halves have just ruined us. It's just, yeah, it's just one of those things, mate. It's just, that game was a must win. We versed Dogs with 12 men and couldn't score. I'm just lost, mate. I'm just over it.
I understand your frustrations. I think it's echoed by many watching, many that will watch and listen afterwards as well, who can't quite make the live show. And shout out to the podcast viewers as well. Make sure the podcast viewers, when you are listening to this, hit that bell icon. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple, however it is, make sure you hit the follow. You get notified all our episodes whenever it comes out. And give us a little rating if you can as well. It lets you do that 5 stars, please. Tyler, you're very, very good at this. You had a massive go a few weeks ago. I feel like there might be something else coming, or it might just be a lot of frustration. You might be a bit over it. Let's see where you go with this.
You can spray and kick and cry all you want, but it doesn't change. It. I'm dead set ready to put it out of my own pocket to fly Lussick, Lane, back off to fucking England, and they can stay over there. I don't care where. I will pay them. I will pay for a house over there. They can stay as far away from this club as possible. How they keep getting game time, and it's unreal. Lane does not bring anything to this club anymore. He spent the 2024 season making a documentary about getting back to his best, and we're still yet to see this best. At his best, he was a above average player. He wasn't anyone like a kick out or one of these hard hitting offloading people. He had that for maybe 3 games when him and Dylan had that really hot streak, but teams found that out straight away. And it seriously wouldn't surprise me if Barrett called if Barrett had called Arthur before the game and said, "Hey man, what do we do? What do we do against these fellas?" Because the way we played is nothing like we played last week. We are back to Brad Arthur. We are back to 1-outs up until the 5th tackle, kick high, kick long, nothing. There's nothing there, and there's no cover. Look, I don't want to go too far into DJ. I think he has got us through really tough injury periods and stand down periods when Dylan was stood down. But he's not a centre, unfortunately. We did find that out today, but we didn't have anyone else to bring in instead of him. That's unfortunately what happens when you have such young players coming in and doing this. But I don't think it was down to the Dogs playing well tonight. It was dead set down to us playing awful football. We play for the win. We play to keep the scoreline how it is. We don't play for the win. You see how Melbourne play or Penrith play. They will play to put you to the sword by 40 points. And they will dead set. They will put you to the sword and they will keep on coming at you. We get 6-8 points above and that's it. That's the end. You don't see more Parramatta unless we know we can waltz through their defence. I don't know where we go from here. As I said last week, Parramatta fans don't get excited, and this is exactly why I said it, because people that think we are getting anywhere near finals football in the next, I want to say 2 to 3 years without some massive changes are delusional.
Look, there's a lot to be said, I feel like. I feel like there's a lot that's already been said over the last couple of weeks. And unfortunately, last week we versed a Sharks team that was without their 2 best and most inspirational players. And I think if you watch the game against the Broncos on the weekend for the Sharks, you realize how important Cam McInnes is to this football team. We got to verse them without him, and then obviously without Hines as well, who at NRL level I think has been one of the best players this year. But I think a lot of the fan base, and don't take this personally, anyone at all, got overexcited by that result. And the talk of us going on a run and making the finals, I never brought into either. I could not believe it from what I've seen so far this year. And we rely so much on Moses. Again, we've seen it now today where the first half he was great. Second half, arguably, he was quite quiet in his own sort of game. And he said so in the post-match interview, whether he's already got his eye on New South Wales and wants to make sure he gets there this time instead of missing game 1. I'm not sure only he can answer that. But the fact is we've got 16 other blokes in the field and it didn't feel like anyone stood up as soon as Moses sort of wasn't there to manage the game properly or to play his best football. Where if we're a football team that we're going to solely rely on that for the next 15 or so weeks, however long is left in this competition, 12 weeks or something, we may as well pack up and go home now. Like, I'm tired of seeing this football team rely on 1 or maybe 2 players in Gutho And that's basically it. Everyone else puts their hands on their hips and say it's too hard. I'm not doing it anymore. Like the club stands for a lot more than that. I feel like I'm at the point I don't want to keep blaming the players anymore either, because like someone like RC, for instance, he's been asked to go play there by the coach at the moment, which is Trent Barrett. Now, that also just to me suggests that the club has been absolutely horrible in the last 24 months in terms of recruitment and retention, where this is our depth. Our depth is to shove a 5'8" / halfback into the back line when most other teams would have a good young kid coming through the grade or a senior sort of figure. Like look at Braden Burns at the moment, who's gone up to the Cowboys and can just do a job. Like we haven't got any of these sorts of players who can come in for a week. We know what sort of job they'll do and off we go. Like it's just sort of, it's so frustrating because I feel like we've got a lot of players in this team at the moment who just aren't up to it. They're just not first grade players. And if they were up out of contract right now, I don't think any of them would pretty much stay in first grade if I was to name these players. But respectfully, I won't. I don't want to go to that level at the moment. I don't want to stoop to that. But we have already mentioned it with the likes of sort of Lussick and Lane, who just for mine aren't up to it. I don't think any NRL team would be looking to sign them anytime soon. And it is frustrating because the thing I go back to is the Dogs tonight had a 10-minute period with 12 players. They had their two best forwards leave the ground at two different stages on a Medicab, did not come back into the game. That was their two best forwards. They don't have a big pack as it is. Like they're a very mobile, fit pack who many at the start of the year said were probably the worst pack in the competition. Geez, don't a lot of us have egg on our faces? And then we had a 9-1 penalty count again for us at one point of the game, where a lot of those penalties were to help get us out of the danger zone, which any club would tell you, any coach will tell you, they are the best penalties to get because it gives you a leg up. Your forwards can have a rest. Our forwards look like they didn't have a rest. They just look so unfit at the moment. Our forward pack looks unfit and our team mostly look unfit. Like it's actually pretty embarrassing. So I could go on for ages, but I also want to go out there and say massive credit to the Bulldogs, who I thought I just gave you a few points why Parramatta should have won. There are a few points why the Dogs should have lost. And to come out and look at that scoreline and see the Dogs have won that game, if we take our Parramatta gear off, our Parramatta hat off, it's a huge round of applause. Stand up and applaud the mighty Canterbury Bulldogs, as much as it pains me to say. But I predicted them. I tipped the Bulldogs this week, and I think everyone in the chat basically said, what the hell are you doing? They all had a go at me for it. But I said that the defense for the Bulldogs has been unreal, and it was again tonight. There was no reason for them to be in that contest, and they still were, and they did what they did. Jace, I want to ask you, the Bulldogs, are they a top 8 team, or if they're not, what do you see from them at the moment, and where can they get to this year?
Well, like you said, if we go back just one step, if you put the team list head-to-head against each other, Parra and Bulldogs, we should have blown them off the absolute park. Like, well, they got Sexton and Burden in the halves, and average forwards really, and a few 14s on the bench. You know, their best player is Stephen Crichton, and they made an absolute fool of this team with players like Moses and Brown, who've been a combination since 2019. It's 5 seasons combination. We still can't get it right. Gutho, I'm not sure if his knee didn't have enough fluid, but Tracy made him look like an old man on with a walking stick. You know, the Bulldogs have done really well with those players and just heart in defence. Their defence really frustrated Parra today, and I think that's their strength, is just that they keep just backing up, turning up in the defence, frustrating teams, and then they've got enough strike power to just go bang, bang, bang. You know, enough speed, enough class with Crichton, Burden kicking the shit out of it and going. I think Gutho said one of them went to the moon, the one that he couldn't get on top of. And I think at the moment, like some people are saying that it's a soft draw, and you can include Parra in that, a soft draw. But the Dogs look good in defence. I do want to see them again against some of the other top 8 teams to actually do well. But if they keep up this defence that they're doing, they're going to keep winning games, and they are going to be beating all the sides that are supposed to be below them, like Parramatta's and like the Knights, which are going to be below them. You know, so if they keep this up, and they've just gone into the bye as well. So if they keep this up, I do think they're a top 8 side. They just have to keep their defense up because their defense is winning them the games. They don't have enough in attack to rely on their attack, but their defense is solid. It's frustrating the lower teams, and you can see it today. It frustrated the crap out of Parra that we didn't score with 13 or 12, and that's what did it for them. Connor Tracy running around people, Crichton running through people. It looked great, but it's because that the other team was just absolutely frustrated, and I think that's what they did to the Knights as well. So yeah, if they keep this up with their defense, they definitely can be there at the end of the year.
One thing I'll say about this talk about the soft run for the Dogs and they haven't beaten quality enough and all this jazz is just remember, sit back and think these top teams have also dropped points to some of these teams so far this year. So it's not easy to get up each and every week in this competition. It's arguably, I know that there's teams like the Tigers here. It's probably the closest the competition's ever been. I know there has been blowout scores, but the quality that can be on the park each and every week is right up there. And the way that these players play is right up there. The Dogs, for mine, have just beaten who's in front of them. And again, I'll say it, like some of these top teams, you go back and look at their results, they've lost to one or two of these teams so far. So they're doing well. You can only beat what's in front of you. And some of these other, like Parramatta, for instance, I wish we could beat some of these teams because we've lost to them. So it is what it is. Tyler, the Bulldogs, did they impress you today?
They impressed me with their defense, but coming up in the next, I'm just looking here, 5 weeks, they get 4 competition points, and that's from 2 buys. I don't see them beating Roosters. They might get a very lucky win against the Sharks, and the way Warriors are playing at the moment, they absolutely roll them at the moment. Dogs are a weird one, and I congratulate them for signing half of the premiership winning Penrith team, and it's finally starting to pay off for them. It took them only 3-4 years to do, but in taking the Parramatta cap off, they are playing quite well at the moment, but I don't think that they've impressed me enough to make the 8 at the start of the year. And if they do, as I said last week, they'll go out in the second week of finals. They're just one of those teams at the moment where I don't trust them to make the 8. Looking at the way that they play their absolute heart out, but they can't they can't keep up with people such as Melbourne and Panthers. And I know Broncos haven't had a great run this season just due to injuries, but someone like the Broncos as well. I think when they verse Roosters the week after next, people see how I think that'll be a real test for them, and they'll see how much of a contender they are.
Yeah. The thing with the Bulldogs is they're not winning pretty. They're winning most of the games ugly. But if I was a Dogs fan, that's actually really impressing me because I know that we've got a bit more in our tank with some of those players that are in that team. Your Crichtons, your Connor Tracy's, and Carraz. We've seen Josh Adokar come back as well into the lineup and the like. But Burton as well on his days is one of the better playmakers in the competition this year. I think that the thing that really impresses me with the Bulldogs is they're playing like a club again. They're playing like an actual team again, which I think, and we'll go talk about Parramatta once again, they, to me, are the opposite. They look like a team of individuals. They're not playing as a team at the moment, where the Dogs are the opposite. On paper, they should be at the bottom of the ladder. It does not make sense to see where they are at the moment. But then you go back to the club management, you go back to the coaching style, you go back to the players playing as if the jersey means something to them, like if they all mean something to each other. That to me is what a lot of the clubs down the bottom of the ladder just simply aren't doing. And majority of the teams at the bottom of the ladder have a better roster on paper than the Bulldogs, but the Bulldogs are getting it and doing it right. So huge credit to the Bulldogs. I think they're doing a great job, and it's, as much as I hate saying it, it's I'm glad for their fans because I do know a couple of Dogs fans. I know they've been through it. They piss me off because they do carry on like they've won the freaking competition and forget how shit they've been for years. But good on them. I want to talk about another team who aren't doing as anywhere near as good as they should be, and or any improvement. And that's the West Tigers. There's two parts of this. There is a Lockie Galvin situation, which I want us to talk about afterwards. And I want to talk about the West Tigers first. And I think they've lost now 9 in a row after starting the year, and they looked okay. They looked like, okay, we've seen some improvement here with the West Tigers. I'm not sure where they're going to go with this, how far up the table it'll get them, but it should get them off the bottom of the ladder to now going, what the hell is this? Like, I don't even, this team looks worse than last year's team now. Like, I don't get it. It just, you sit there and you think about some of these points that this club has made. Is Benji Marshall, is that the wrong decision? He's a club great, if not the greatest West Tiger of all time. And is this too much pressure for him? Was he the right man for the job? Looking back on it, I'd have to say no. I'd have to say, to be brutally honest, I don't think he's ready for it. This job is huge. This job at the West Tigers is actually a lot bigger than I think anyone thinks. Is Shane Richardson the right man? He's a step in the right direction, but there is a lot of things that need to happen to this Tigers team to turn the corner around. Tyler, you're looking at the Tigers this year, and what do you think? Where to for these Tigers? Because they have a massive fan base. They are one of the biggest have one of the biggest fan bases in the competition, and I don't know why, because they have not given their fans anything, but they stick around.
Absolutely, and that's fair play to the West. My sister's a West fan, and she's stuck through them thick and thin. They look better in attack, is what I'll say, from last year. Especially at the start of last year, they had nothing. Dream Buller is just mental as a player. He's an absolute freak of a fullback. Obviously needs to work on defense, but that can always be taught. I would say don't give up on Benji just yet. I think he gets them out of the wooden spoon this year. I don't know who goes in their place. Possibly, I'd hate to say it, but possibly Titans. If they can't shape up and start getting results very, very soon.
Hang on one sec. Sorry to cut you off. Let me ask you this then, off the back of this statement. I was hoping someone would make something like this. What have you seen in their game so far this year that warrants them finishing anything other than 17th? Because I tried to think about this afternoon to come up with an answer for this question. If I can't think of anything. They look completely lost.
There are flickers of hope, and they need to click, and really soon, before they do end up in this position where the table starts getting away from them. People such as, Dream Buller and the Lockie Galvin, which we will come to, but they have these players that can really switch it on when they want to. It just doesn't seem like they are clicking as of yet. And I would love to see them do well. I'd love to see them do well. I think next year is going to be a bigger problem for them if they sack Benji, especially losing Papali'i to the Panthers. I think they're going to go worse if they end up going with another inexperienced coach. Maybe Benji needed some more time under a more successful coach. I know who it was under before was very successful in the past, but he came in and led them nowhere. And it's hard because that he built that team with the help of Benji, but Benji has no idea what that team needs and what he's looking for. And I don't think he was quite ready to step up into that role after last year. They needed to push him back another year just because of where the club is at the minute. And they really need to tighten up on their discipline as well. Their discipline is shocking at the moment, giving away penalties, errors, sin bins. It is ridiculous at the moment. And, as I said a few weeks ago, their attack seems to base around Coruscant. And when an attack bases around a number 9, that seriously screams alarm bells if your name isn't Cameron Smith.
And I think that's the alarming thing at the moment is the fact that their discipline is just so poor. To me, suggests where this club and team is at. I don't want to say don't care because it's very harsh to say for first grade players, but it just feels like the club is nowhere near where it should be because every week there's rumors about players wanting out as well, that there's rumors of unrest in the club. Jace, I want to ask you, looking back now, 2 weeks ago, Benji was off in a family holiday for almost a week getaway, and we were told that was the whole club was told to get away for 4 days, and all good, no worries. But I feel like if you're in a first year of a head coach career, you know what goes on, you know what the hours are like. That's why it's a job not for everyone. Looking back on it, was it the right decision for Benji to go? I know it doesn't look great. For me personally, anyway, I don't think it's a great look. You need to get into the trenches in these sorts of times where it was, at the time, I think it was 8 losses in a row. Yep, let the players go refresh if that's what you think. But I think coaching and coaching staff just need to knuckle down and think of something. And what are your thoughts around that? Is it too old school to think like that, or is it echoing your sort of thoughts?
Not old school at all. And yes, it definitely echoes my thoughts. It's very strange, and there's a lot of talk around the way that Benji was coaching. And what the players came out and said was that he's very relaxed. He's very relaxed. But for me, it almost seems like he wants to have this cake and eat it type situation where he can have all this time with his family, that he obviously thinks that it's a priority, which is fine. But also he thinks he can coach at NRL level. There's not many coaches that have lost 8 in a row that would go take a holiday in their first proper year as a coach. Even if you're working 9 to 5 and working for an employer, and you're behind on your KPIs or whatever it is, you don't start leaving early and expecting everything to improve or expect some sort of pay rise or promotion. You're staying back, you're putting in extra effort, you're showing that you can do the work, and you're trying to figure something out. The fact that he takes a holiday and takes a break after losing 8 in a row, for me, that's the mentality of the club. He's the leader of the club, and he's also seen as somebody who would be like a captain coach. He's still sort of one of the boys. He's still like a player in a lot of the players' eyes. So he needs to lead by example. He needs to be the first one in, last one out. He needs to be on the job, on the tools all the time. He needs to be constantly making sure everyone's on top of things. And if that's too much, that's fine. No worries. No one is going to say anything bad if you put your hand up and say, look, this is too much for me. But if there's some ego issue or a pride issue where he thinks that he has to sort of stick to it, and he thinks that there's this magical world where you can get work-life balance in the NRL, I'm sorry, but that's a bit of a dream situation. It doesn't happen. Even the likes of Brad Arthur, who used to work, 20-hour days, and that's just the way it is. That's the level that you need to be at as an NRL coach. I don't see Bellamy taking weeks off, and he's won how many competitions and been there for how many years. So it is unfortunate that it's not bringing results for trying this new method or whatever they're doing. But look, you just have to put the work in. You have to figure out what's wrong with the team. You have to find some solutions. You need to be there. You need to be there for most of the time. If you're not doing that and the players see that, they're going to follow. Okay, well, the coach leaves at 4. I want to leave at 4 as well. And he had this excuse, I get there at 6 a.m. So what? So what if you get there at 6 a.m.? Why aren't you staying longer? Maybe 6 a.m. suits you better. Maybe you like to get there at 6 a.m. and leave at 4. It's not an excuse to say, I still do 10 hours a day. The players are seeing you leave early. The players are seeing the effort you put in. The players are seeing you spend more time with your family, which is totally, I've got nothing against that whatsoever. But then that's NRL coaching job is not for you. It's big bucks. It's high pressure. It's a lot of work. If you watch documentaries, if I digress about the NFL, those coaches are working 7 days a week. 7 days a week, 20-hour days, every single day, getting in, grinding, and so are the quarterbacks.
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah. So unfortunately, for your season, that's it, right? It's 6 to 7 months out of the year that you need to go hard out. You just have to do it. Unfortunately, you just have to do it. And I don't see the Tigers getting any better with Benji, unfortunately. They need somebody much more experienced to get them out of this hole. It may be a BA type who knows how to get teams to out of the hole. He can't get teams. Well, I might have to eat my words, but he can't get teams to win a comp. But he can definitely get them out of holes, and that's the type of coach that I think the Tigers need. Not this, laid back, chill, one of the boys, don't stress, it's going to be okay. No, Tigers need to stress. You come last again, there needs to be alarm bells and things need to happen.
And I think that's where I feel like Benji got off on the wrong foot with this. I know he, at the start of the year, he came out and had a big thing about saying he doesn't want to be a 24/7 coach. He's got to balance family life, and that is all good. Like, I'm here to talk as a bloke, as a dad, as a family man, and that we all understand that. We all get that 100%. That we all need to be doing that. We need to be the best version of ourselves possible, but you don't, in that position that he's in, you simply don't come out and say that. You don't come out and make that public. You might have a chat to, say, Shane Richardson and say, look, this is what I want to do this year, and this is how I want to balance things. No worries. Don't make that public knowledge, because straight away you're telling the playing group basically that in a way you're not all in. It sounds crazy, and I'm not going to sit here and try and say, no, Benji Marshall doesn't care about the club. He clearly does. He loves the club. But that's how the players start to think. They go, oh, hang on, my coach is going at 3:30 today. He's going to do school pickup today at 3 o'clock. Like, okay, I'm not going to stay and do my extras because I don't have the coach watching me. I don't have anyone to impress. Off I go. So it's just a perception thing that I think, especially as your first year as a coach, without having any real experience. Like, we've seen other players come into coaching, like Craig Fitzgibbon. He served a huge apprenticeship under at the Roosters under Trent Robinson. He done his hard yards. Brad Arthur done his hard yards. Like, this is Benji, who's pretty much hasn't done anything really. If we're being honest, he's almost walked into this job in a way, and I don't want to say his legacy, as the post sort of said today. I don't want to question his legacy at all, but I feel like he might run into an issue down the track where the fans start to turn on him. He's a club great, and if this doesn't improve, it's a very awkward spot and an awkward situation that Benji could find himself in at the club he loves. And I have no doubt in my mind he's the first guy who wants change, and the change for the better for this club. But there's a time and place when someone of this stature should come in. I think you need to go and do an apprenticeship, say New South Wales Cup, Queensland Cup, coach some teams for a few years, get used to all how it actually works week in, week out in the trenches coaching, and then see if it works out for you. Because what Benji's done now is he's balancing his family life and stuff, which is all good, but he hasn't tested this out before. So he's literally testing this out at the highest level you can possibly do. To me, that just sounds crazy. You can't do that. I can't go, oh, I'm going to be a professional snowboarder. You know what? My first go on a snowboard is going to be at the Winter Olympics. That's just where I think I'm ready for. No, I've got to go to Threadbow and start there and go on the baby slopes, and off I go. So, Tyler, just quickly with the Benji stuff, do you feel like it's setting up for a bit of an awkward tenure? Can he turn it around? I don't. I'm worried about what happens if he fails here, and if it can turn bad.
Look, I'm with you there as well. I think it can really go sour, and if it's not working, it's not working, and that's completely okay. Some people just aren't cut out for the job. That's fine. You know, you have your families. He's not used to it, and as I said before, he didn't really have a chance to trial and test stuff, and he's just kind of fallen into this job, and half the time it looks like he's just gone, I don't know how, I don't know why I'm here, I don't know how I'm here. I know how I'm here because I'm a great, I'm a great of the club, but I don't know how I'm here in return of coaching investment. He needed to be a defensive or an attacking coach, probably attacking, or one-on-one with a halfback. I think Lockie Galvin would have done really, really well having Benji train him one-on-one purely, rather than having to deal with the whole team. I really do hope Benji can turn it around, but it's not looking promising, and I do worry what happens to his legacy if he can't turn this around or overstays his welcome and really gets on the fans' nerves.
Jace, Lockie Galvin, we mentioned him. We're going to go to him now. Asked for a release middle of last week. It was confirmed by the club. So this is all fact, guys. I heard some people over the weekend say, oh, it's just made up. It's Daily Telegraph bullshit. But it was confirmed by Shane Richardson. So it did happen. Apparently, after the Dragons game, he was reported by Buzz tonight on NRL 360 going around in the shed saying how keen he is to get out of the place. Stefano Udagamano looks like he's not going to be re-signing with the club either. He wants out. This is two of their probably best youngsters at the club right now wanting out. Lee, you mentioned Isaac Moses once again playing games with this club. And I do agree with this to a certain degree. I also think there needs to be a bit of a blowtorch on the Tigers here because these are young talent where they want to go where they've got the best chance at playing first grade to start with. And if I look at them both have a great chance of being regular first grade starters at the Tigers for the next 5 years, and they can really be part of a rebuild if they truly believe the Tigers can go somewhere. But for the fact that they don't think that, they got Luai going there next year. They got Turuva going there next year. That's two players from a successful system that can bring him a little bit of success, can bring that over with him. I know there needs to be a lot more happen there, guys. Don't shoot me down for that. It's a step in the right direction. Lockie Galvin, though, what side of the fence do you sit on with this one? Do you think he should be is in a position to say, I want to get out of this club? I'm not happy. That apparently they've made him play the last 3 weeks with a broken hand. His parents aren't happy with the treatment. Or do you think he's well within his rights to say, you know what, I'm a kid. I want to go and get the best out of my short career. We have all said in the past, it is quite a short career in the NRL. And that's what he's entitled to do this.
Yeah, I think he's definitely entitled. I'm not sure what the conversations are, but Jerome Luai is not coming in at 7. He's going to play 6. So where does that leave Lockie Galvin next year? I've heard about he was playing with an injury and wasn't getting much support. I'm not sure how true that is. But I also wanted to mention that it does seem like, unfortunately, good old Isaac Moses, which I think he was a bit of an instigator for BA sacking, has a lot of influence. He does manage a lot of players. And it seems like for him as well, maybe moving some chips or moving some things around that he feels is going to benefit his player and obviously benefit him financially. I saw Lockie Galvin as a great future player for Tigers to be there for a while, like he said. But if he's unhappy, and it seems like he is, then he probably will go. They're saying we're not going to let him go, but they'll push and shove enough that he'll probably get let go. You never know. He could be talking with other teams.
I see the Roosters. I don't know why, but Luke Keary going. Sam Walker takes the team over, and I feel like Lockie Galvin becomes a Rooster in 2025. Just quickly, I want to ask you, with the Isaac Moses stuff, I know we normally do the Law and Order podcast for League of Inches every couple of weeks whenever there's a big thing on. Do you know much about the Isaac Moses situation in terms of why he was deregistered? Well, I think it was twice, actually, he got deregistered, and he's back in the game now, and he seems to, like, from an outsider looking into it, he seems to be making more havoc than ever. And I don't understand why the NRL has allowed someone who they've deregistered twice now to be back in the game. Like, there's other player agents out there that are clearly doing the right thing, like Braith Nastor, for instance. Like, I know he's got he double crosses in a way because he has the show on TV, but he seems to be doing everything above board. But I'm not going to accuse Isaac Moses of anything, but we all read about it every day at the moment. He doesn't seem to be. I don't know. I don't know how to say this without getting us in trouble, but he just doesn't seem. He's been deregistered twice. I don't understand how he's back. I don't. And you might not know the answer. We might have to look into this and actually do an episode maybe about this in the next week or two. But I don't get it.
I don't know why, and I can't remember why he's been deregistered. But I think from memory, there was some. There's all those rules around when you can talk to players and when you can make offers, and so I think there was around that he was sort of always pushing the boundaries on certain things and getting things done sort of under the table, or encouraging players to cut to meetings or whatever it was when he wasn't able to. I think that was the main, but I don't actually know exactly. But it was definitely breaking those type of rules, and he's back, and he seems to be very good at doing that and playing some chess with the players and the clubs, and he does have a lot of power because he does represent a lot of players and a lot of big players as well, and up and coming players. So look, there's been talks on NRL 360, I think, as well, when they discussed BA sacking. And they did mention that Isaac Moses was talking, apparently, had said that the players were upset with BA and BA had lost the dressing room. So that's, again, a little jab that Isaac Moses apparently got in and got his way. Because the thing is that Lachlan Galvin didn't ask for his release. Isaac Moses asked for his release on his behalf. So there's this thing with clubs that they don't want to get the player managers offside because they do manage so many players and have so much influence. They often will try and keep these player managers on side, keep them happy, not do too much to sort of tread the line with them, because they know that if they piss the player managers off, there's an effect that goes on with the players themselves. So
Tyler, sorry, Jason.
No, go. I just wanted to say, so you have these precautionary issues and tails that have led to these things happening, and that's why the clubs, I guess, are pressured into these situations as well.
Yeah, interesting. As I said, we might have a look into that scenario a bit more, and might come up with an episode around that, because I think there's been a lot more talk and a lot more. It's getting louder around Isaac Moses, so it could be interesting. Tyler, just regarding the Lockie Galvin side of things, what side of the fence are you on at the moment? Should he swallow his pride, or well within his rights if he doesn't have faith in the club to be trying to find the best club for him and his growth?
I'd be concerned if I was Galvin at the moment. He is such a budding young player and has so much potential, and they've just turned around and gone, we'll sign Luai. And I feel like Galvin after that's just kind of gotten this mentality of, I won't be playing next season, so I may as well start looking now. And I can't really blame him at this point. If he doesn't think he can play 7, and Luai's obviously not a 7, I can't fault the bloke for wanting to leave at this point. It really makes sense, and I think he's well within his rights to do it at the moment. I never agree with clubs trying to block a move. If they're unhappy at the club, let them go. It doesn't make sense to keep them at the club if they are unhappy. It affects team morale. It affects the results eventually on the field. It may not happen the first week or two, but eventually it does affect the team and the results. And look, that I don't want to point fingers or anything, but that could already be affecting team morale. That he's obviously had this in mind for a few weeks now. He would have had to think it long and hard over, because asking for a release from an NRL club is a massive, massive thing to do, because nothing's guaranteed. The club can turn around and say, okay, you can sign for someone, just not a rival. There's 17 rivals in the NRL. There's no friendly clubs as such. They could go, don't sign for a Sydney rival, and that would take out the obvious signing of the Roosters. It's a hard one, but I can see why he's done it. And I think he's well within his rights to do it.
Yeah, I remember probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, I used to be ropeable about players leaving contracts early, wanting to get out, and I just never sat well with me. But I've come around a lot more these days in terms of, if I was the club and if I had a player come to me and I know it's going to mean they're unhappy and that's going to affect my club and the players in that club, I'm just going, all right, off you go. See you later. Like, let's cut ties. I'm telling you now, though, if you're going, we're not paying you out. You've said to us you want to go, so you're not getting payouts for this. You want to go. It's all good, but you're not getting a cent from us as a club whenever you decide to leave, if it's at the end of the year. But if you're going to be here till the rest of the year, we want the best out of you. And I'd say to Galvin, I'd say, mate, I know you're young. I know what you're going through, and I know the potential you've got. You're not the only player that's played with an injury. And whether his parents are unhappy or not, I've got a message for the parents, and they'll never listen, but it's rugby league. It's first grade. It's a club now. You got team doctors doing things. They've got the injections. They've got everything to do it the right way, the safest way possible. And they're not holding a gun to the kid's head. If he's that unhappy, don't turn up. Just don't turn up if you're not if you're that unhappy with the club. But there's majority of the players right now in the NRL are playing injured. I don't think there is more than 10% of the NRL that is playing right now fully fit. That's just what happens at this time of year. No one gets the chance to relax. Everyone's under the pump. The top echelon players more than anyone, and they're the reason why they're getting the big bucks, because some of these players, like we're seeing Ben Hunt, Lomax, and Sewer do on Friday, 2 games in 2.5 days. Like, it's ridiculous. It's insane. And okay, a fractured hand's not pleasant, but is it life or death? No. You're a first grade footy player. You're on some very good big bucks for someone your age. I wouldn't be going to the media with this. And if I knew my manager was doing this, I'd cut ties with my manager, because no one would tell me how to control my own destiny in my career. The players need to start realizing is that this isn't just their career in terms of the rugby league in this 10 to 15 year thing. They'll be looking for opportunities afterwards as well. They'll be looking for TV deals. They'll be looking at sponsorship deals, etc. You got to make sure you put your best foot forward from the start. You can't have your manager stuffing you around early on here. And if you're unhappy or good, leave. Just stop making all these noises around it. The Melbourne Storm, guys, let's go to a positive, end with a positive as well. The Melbourne Storm look like they're very under the radar this year. I don't think many people, if you ask people where the Storm are sitting, they would not probably guess it right, but they're right up there again this year. I personally don't know yet where I've got them. I think that I did a ladder predictor last week, and I actually had 3 teams equal top on the same points at the end of this year. That's how close I felt this competition is going to be. They were one of those teams. But I want to ask you, Jace, are the Storm a top 2 team from what you've seen this year? Will they finish top 2?
Look, when you get 28 points put against you against someone like the Knights, that's tough. That is a tough one to say that they're a top team. I love the decline of Melbourne. They're not the Melbourne of old, but they still somehow always manage to get wins. As a Parra supporter, I love to hate Melbourne, and I will always hate them. But I see what they're doing at the moment, and don't get me wrong, they're a top side, and they do get a lot of wins. But they're not the Melbourne of old, where most teams aren't scared of them anymore. Most teams aren't scared to play them at Amy Park. They've lost that fear, and I think now it's the Panthers that are the most feared team, and no longer Melbourne. And they have gone under the radar because they are winning games, and they had that phenomenal win against the Warriors. Wasn't it when Coates scored in the corner in the last second? So they still are capable of these great wins and being a great team, but I just don't think they're at that level that they were, and they aren't really going to threaten Panthers, Broncos, maybe even Roosters. Really, they're going to be up. They'll probably be up there, maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6, depending on for and against. But I think they're one of those teams now which will just keep making the 8 and won't really be a threat, because I think they've declined in their defensive structures, and then teams are starting to figure them out. So they're a good team, but I just don't think they're top 4 anymore. And I'm happy to say that as a Parra fan.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll change this question around a bit to not just be top 2. I'll just say top 4 then. Are they a top 4 team or they're not? Tyler, the Storm, are they top 4 in your eyes?
Look, I'd hate to say it as a Parra fan, but I go against Jace here. I think they are top 4, let alone top 2. I think they are a genuine contender. They've shown week in, week out why they are sitting at the top of the ladder currently. Broncos aren't playing as well as they were last year. I don't know what's happened to their 2023 form, but you also have people like the Panthers. I know they're only 2 points away, but I don't think they've been as good as they were last year. I think obviously the Cleary injury and I think also Luai are looking a bit, off to the left for next year. That also could be affecting them a little bit. Obviously, he has stepped up in the last few weeks without Cleary there, but I think that was affecting them. That at least the week that he signed with the Tigers and it was announced. But the Melbourne Storm, they have just been awesome to watch at the moment. I know they've had 2 buys, which is probably why they are sitting first at the moment. I wouldn't be having them first. I'd possibly be having them sitting just behind Sharks for the start of the season at least. I know they haven't been great the last few weeks, especially with losing to Parramatta. But I think Melbourne are genuine
and Penrith 40
contenders.
blot.
And Penrith 40 points. Yep, that was something. But I think Storm are genuine contenders this year, and I'm seriously worried that we're going to see another era if they can get it together, and if Bellamy can get the right person underneath him, which I think he does currently, and he can kind of set him up for success. I think we may see another era of them running the show.
Yeah, there's one apiece here. I felt on the deciding vote. I'm gonna go with Tyler's train of thought here. I actually think the Storm are. I am still scared of the Storm, so I look at the draw, and anytime I see especially Parramatta play the Storm, I shit myself. And it's not just Amy Park thing. I just think they're a good team wherever they play. They're one of those teams you have to be on to beat them, and they can win games not being on. We're seen on the weekend. I think most teams actually would have got done by the night. So I thought we're actually quite decent on the weekend against the Storm. I think they would have beat most teams, but the Storm just got it done. And I just feel like a lot of this year so far, they've just got it done. And Mika did mention earlier, all they need to do is make the top 4, which I think they're a shoo-in for doing, because people keep talking about the Roosters, and I had the Roosters to win the comp at the start of the year, and I still think they can do so. They can even do so outside of the top 4. They're that good of a team, but they're not as consistent as the Melbourne Storm. The Melbourne Storm have consistency on the board. They got Pappy to come back after a bit of a break, who I think are massive. That's a massive in for him. Munster's the worry. Munster, for mine, if I knew he would be back and he'd be 100% fit, I'd almost come out and say the Storm will win the comp, in my opinion. But he's a huge blow for them. And by the sounds of it, anytime you hear him talk, I don't think he's confident about coming back this year. I don't think the Storm are confident about him coming back this year either. So I don't know what's going to happen there. I hope for a competition point, because I won't be having a team in the finals this year. I'll be watching it as a neutral, and I want to see the best teams and the best players go at it for that 4-week period. I hope Munster's there, because the Storm can cause some shocks. And I hate saying that as a Parra fan, but trying to be neutral, trying to be professional here. I can't wait to see what the Storm have to go. I think they've got another gear in them. I think once they all hit together, I think Jerome Hughes as well, special shout out. I think in the last 12 months or so, he's become one of those premium halves in the game. He's either got the controlling factor to his game, he's got the support play to his game as well. He's an attacking halfback, he's a defensive halfback. He's just an all-round halfback that's at the elite level at the moment, and he's someone who could really lead this Storm team all the way. So I've got the Storm top 4. That's it. We've pretty much timed this show perfectly, guys. It's just on an hour. It's been fantastic. I really appreciate everyone coming in, lifting us up, lifting me up, helping me get through, talking some footy. It was much appreciated. Thank you to Jace. Thank you to Tyler, both of you for coming on. I believe me and Tyler have one more to go, but that'll be up on the show tomorrow. The quick dumps. We quickly go through a couple of talking points. But again, guys, hit that like, hit that subscribe button, go over, hit that for advisory as well. Make sure you hit that for the competition to get your entry in for that as well. But yeah, thank you. Thanks for tuning in. And all I say finally is rest in peace, brother. You will be missed.